Video, Julie?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Save it for the last.
I don't know what I'm doing though, but I'm terrible at this. But
wow, nice. Look at that. Well done.
nice.
Nice.
Okay, I've got it on video. I haven't got a picture of it. Is that all right?
I'm taking pictures. Hold on.
All right, hold on. Let me get one.
Not familiar with me, I have a relatively robust, somewhat controversial bow hunting channel. I don't really care if you subscribe or not, so do whatever you want to do. It's free content. Hey, it's the old RF here, playing with the new remedy that the Elite folks sent me. Thank you very much to the Elite team for sending me the remedy. They cured me last, a couple of years ago, but now I need a booster shot. So I've got plenty of arrows to shoot, 2 or 3 different models. I've got 250 spine and 300 spine. I've got the Sirius Orions and I've got the Apollo. I've been the remedy is completely adjustable for draw length, draw weight, and then it actually has a thing called set technology where you can actually lean the cams a little bit instead of twisting up the cables or doing it in some other way. It's right on the bow, and even I can figure that out because it has directions like a Denny's menu. Not that you've ever been to a Denny's at 3 o'clock in the morning and you can't read for some reason, but so I'm paper tuning. You can see that right there. And I'm playing around. So where I started was the bow came at 70 pounds and the draw length was set. It was about 30 inches or so when I just arbitrarily drew it back. So I went through, and there's videos and the directions are really easy. So I'm not going to show you how to adjust that stuff. Go look on the Elite website or look on some other YouTube videos on how to adjust that stuff. I cut the draw length down, and I just did it by feel. I had my cure and I draw it, and I got it down where it just feels right for me. I just kept moving it around because you can do that stuff. I said, I'm going to shoot it through paper. So I came out, started messing around doing the Ranch Fairy thing, which is a couple of spines, bunch of field points, and I kind of know my target arrow. I want a 250 spine. I want about 300 grains up front. That's right at 650 grains, and a 200 grain point. Maybe 300? Yeah. So let me show you the results and talk a little bit about what's going on. All right, this is my first paper tune, and you can see everything. There's the point. There's the point hitting. Everything's left. All of it's left. That was beautiful. That was like my second shot. I just ripped it and gripped it. But everything turned out to be, I don't know, a couple inches long. And they just kept doing the same thing. And that tells me it's the bow. Right? When you see it do all the same thing, and I had changed point weights, I ran it up to 250, and then I ran down to 150. This is actually the 150 tear. I shot it twice. And it didn't change, but the tears are all knock left. And I said, okay, we know we're shooting knock left. Let's check one thing right off the bat. So my first check was right down the top of the bow. And I looked down the top of the bow, and I wanted to see if the arrow was going right down the middle. You can just eyeball this by the bottom limb, okay? And down the middle of your stabilizer. When I started, the arrow was about like that. It was just a little to the left. It wasn't terrible, but it was about like that. And I said, So I moved the rest. This is where it is now, and it's centered. Okay, and that was my first check, was down the middle. Big Mike Tanaka showed me that. So down the middle of the limbs, and just kind of eyeball it, right? But if it's off to one side or something, it's obviously out a square, so we squared it up. Step 2, I always try to get the bow shooting pretty close, just doing basic things. So step 2 was the bow came cranked to the stop, so it's a 70-pound bow, so we assume it's at 70 pounds. When I immediately got it, I took 2 turns out of it. I wanted to shoot a lower draw weight. So what I did first, I got it squared. Okay, I got the shaft. I mean, I've got the breast down the middle, and it shot a little bit better, but not crazy. So I actually added a full turn of draw, and it got worse. So I went back down, and then I backed it off a half a turn, and it got better. So tears went from about there to there. So those are 2 things that I did that anybody can do. Square the rest and mess with the draw weight. Remember, perfect arrow flight. Draw weight doesn't really matter at all. If the arrow flies sideways, 79 pounds, but it's 71 pounds, it shoots perfectly straight. You want the perfectly straight because broadheads will fly. It's pretty straightforward. So what happened was I did that, and then I said, I just kept playing with the draw length, and I just kept feeling like it was a little long. Because it's a remedy and because it's completely adjustable at your house, no bow press, I said, what would happen if I took another ½ inch out of the draw length just to see, because I can always put it back. So I'm going to show you on the bow how easy this is. I'm not going to take it apart. I'm going to show you the basics of it. And then you can see that if you decide to buy an Elite this fall or whenever, that because it's so adjustable, I'm doing some very simple things to get perfect arrow flight that nobody is sitting into the wizard stuff with twisting the limbs and flipping the top hats and all that stuff. This is real straightforward. Draw length, squared rest, draw weight. Anybody can do this. Well, a lot of bows, the draw length is set, but that might be it. So let me show you that. So this is the cam on the remedy. There's a screw here and a screw here. And in this hole right there, see those numbers? Tilt the sun, get down there. You can see that I'm on number 7. You got to make them the same on both sides. I was at, this way's longer and this way's shorter. So I was at 6.5, and it just felt a little long. I don't know, it just, an arbitrary feeling, just felt like my shoulder was way back, not way back, but just back. So I shortened it up 1/2 inch, did it on this end, and then again on this side. Numbers in there, sun's blocking it, but it's still on 7. All right, these are my original tears. And now they're down to that. And that's probably me. I'm gonna clean that up a little bit and start noctuning and stuff, but you can see how much better. Look at those Mambos. Big tears, right? All the way down to, I mean, these are decent. They're only that long, right? And then I gotta accept that I'm a human, but to go from that to that with simple changes really helps. And I'm 7 yards away. 7 yards. That's what the wizard told me to do. I don't know. I'm not that good at this stuff. So got my table full of stuff, tools, all kind of things. So those are real simple changes. And if you don't have a bow that's really easily adjustable, and just because your wingspan is a certain wingspan, and just because some calculator says you should be shooting XYZ poundage to kill every animal in North America, and just because something says your draw length is X, if you have a great bow that with these new features on them, like this Remedy, the Cure, that kind of thing, it's not brand specific. They are nice enough to, go out and snort the fairy dust and send me a couple of bows and let me play with them. Good for Elite. Thank you very much, guys. But this thing has cool technology on it. And then if you really want to get crazy, you can bust that set thing loose and actually tilt the limbs and really tune it up. And I may do that. But right now, all I messed with was draw weight, draw length, and then I made sure the rest was running down the middle. And I got my tears down to under, maybe under an inch and half an inch, and not really warmed up and haven't really gotten serious. But that's a massive change from a tear that long to, this long. just doing simple things. If your bow that you choose to buy sometime does not have this stuff, and you can't make these very simple changes, and you're not willing to tinker around with it, and you're set. If you are one of these people that says, I got to shoot 70, I got to shoot 29 inches, and I got to shoot X arrow, you're already in trouble to a certain extent. Perfect arrow flight is the first thing. You got structural integrity is easy, right? From Dr. Ed. Buy things that won't break, like one-piece broadheads that you have to sharpen by hand, good cut-on contacts and stuff, not flipping, flapping blades and anything with really thin blades under 0.04 or 5, whatever. Thin paper blades, don't buy that because it'll explode. After that, perfect arrow flight takes some effort. So I did 3 things, 15 or 20 minutes, but it's mostly about the bow. And once again, I'm not necessarily saying the Elite's the best. They happen to find me to be interesting enough to send me a couple of bows, and I cannot complain that this thing, I am an idiot when it comes to bow tuning. I do not sit in the shop with a press. I don't own a press. I don't twist the wing dingers and flip the top hats and yoke the cables and yank the willy whackers or whatever the hell that stuff is. Never done it. Might I use the SEC technology because it's rednecked? Yeah, I might now. But for me to just sit around and arbitrarily have the time and the shooting place, I'm at test lab number 2 here. So slinging these things around in your garage, you know, causes holes in the garage. And then I call her my wife because she's the loveliest lady on the earth for 33 years. But you can call her your old lady, but whatever, when you shoot your arrow through your house and it goes into the living room or it goes through the side of your shed or your garage and sticks in the mower, hey, that's that. So I'm not doing that. I'm going to play around some more. I think it's just a grip thing. So my next thing to do is move my grip around and see if that fixes it. Once again, simple stuff if the bow can do it. All right, I couldn't stand it. I kept getting a little left tear, and I said the dang thing's got the SEC technology. So I went to one of the videos. This is what you do. There's this thing called YouTube. It's on this thing called the internet that's going to be around for a while, apparently. It's not a fad. And I looked up Elite's version of how to use the SEC technology. It's 4 minutes long. I'll have a link in the description below. And exactly what I did, I sat on a big rock over there and I watched it 4.5 minutes. The dude did it, pulled the wrench out of his target quiver and just set it right there. So that's what I did. And it was tear and tail left. And I moved it about half a turn. Tear was about this long. It was amazing. That's the last one. Right here. There was the first one, second, third. I'm gonna live with that. I shot this one up here. It was just me. You have to be honest with yourself when you turn one loose. But I can live with a little there, a little there, and a little there. That's the fouler messing it up, but not the bow, because they're all a little different. So that's just humanity right there. But that is pretty sexy. I could probably bump the rest a little bit, but I'm probably going to shoot, I'll shoot fletched and shoot broadheads and see what happens. So that's my set technology results. It was still pretty good without doing the set technology, but once I used it, pretty awesome. Okay, I guess I'm done with that. So I'll zero the bow now. And then I'll still go fishing this fall. I'll probably hunt some too, but a lot of fishing and messing around. Maybe shoot a deer. I don't know. Not really mad at the deer. Look at the Remedy and look at the Elite line. Like I said, they were kind enough to send me a couple of bows over the last 2 or 3 years. And this is the first time I messed with the set. It was really idiot proof. I'm literally in the middle of nowhere. Very basic tool set. And it was as easy as they said it was to get a perfect bear shaft. And there they are. There's one of them in the target right there. And yeah, it's offline because the target's over there. So in the future, if you're looking for bows this fall or any time, you got to consider some of the adjustability stuff. I am a Neanderthal. I do not intend to ever own a bow press and sit around and twist the cables. But once they made it like a Denny's menu, for somebody who's a simpleton, seems like a winner. All right, make a choice on whatever bow you want to get. That's fine. It's hot. And I'm going fishing. See you.